Got this running me, curly yellow dancing on me. Said she smelled a grin on me, and she straight from California. Freaky, yeah, she wanna be. Tell me she like.
What is really good? Welcome back to Sekien no Inganock. Yep, I'm remembering the name. I'm not remembering it. I just read it as soon as I got in, bro. I had to repeat that so many times in my head. Sekien no Inganock. That's a hard one. That's gonna be a hard one to remember. This, I will say, this visual novel is definitely the most interesting in the aspect of the setting. Yeah, no. I mean, Seiya no Uta might be like a close second. But this is very interesting in terms of the setting. This is very, very dystopian. And it's cool. I like the vibe. So I'm assuming this is maybe possibly the minigame. I'm not sure. Let's see. Inner voices. So this is actually where we were last time. Let's go to scene 1. Yes, sir. Oh, A. Why'd I press B? A mysterious girl. That girl who calls herself Sia. Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't really voice these lines. Alright, I'll let him talk.
不思議な子。その面影にはどこか覚えがあるような。僕はキーヤとどこかで出会ったことがある。いや、ないはずだ。会ったことなど。記憶を操作しても彼女のことは出てこない。
I think they met a decade ago. Back 10 years ago. Back when everything was holly jolly, happy, skipping in flower fields, all that. You know what I'm saying?
可能性として10年前に出会っていたなら。10年前のあの日、あの時。恐るべき復活の時の記憶だけは。
Bro, what happened during the revival, my boy? What happened? Oh my gosh. Was it like the eclipse during Berserk, bro? No way everyone got massacred like that.
僕は、いや、都市の誰もがあの時の記憶を正しく有していない。
You said it's the fearsome revival. So do you remember the revival itself, but not everything before it?
ある研究者は言った。それは巨大な恐怖の影響なのだと。
Enormous terror.
誰にも。その研究者、クリッター研究を続けていた最後の大学教授は発狂して死んだ。
What the hell?
断片化された記憶の中。
So, this is speculation. So maybe it was like just a bunch of like freaking crazy ass huge insects, just like animals and insects just like invading the town or the city, I guess. And then I don't know, dog, man, cuz there's like mutated people here who are like part animal and part insect, so
やはりそれはないだろう。現在よりも10年前であれば、彼女は一体何歳であるのか。
Yeah, what the hell?
今よりもずっと幼いはずだ。
Yeah, wait. That's weird. Yeah.
もっとも、何らかの変異の影響で肉体年齢を固定されていれば、話は
Oh.
別だが。
Huh.
不思議と。僕は彼女に変異の名残を感じていない。第一印象での話だが。
Is she God?
それも不思議な話だ。変異のない仮想民などいないというのに。昔のサレムのことを覚えている。今とは全く違う姿をしていた。顔形は同じだけれど、何もかも違う。女性のみずみずしさとサレムは、考えてみれば対極にあったのかもしれない。 静かな性格だが激高することもあった。その激しさはそう炎のようで、白衣を着たままで仲の悪い友人と乱闘することもあった。今はその名残はない。サレムもまた変異してしまったのだろう。
Huh.
サレム、かつての僕の友人、君は変わってしまったが、それでも君は君なのだと思う。君は僕を覚えていた。僕も君を覚えていた。アティ、豊島天狼の黒猫。君と出会ったのは10年前だったか。黄金道が完全に固定化されたのが確か8年前だったはずだ。出会った頃の君のことを覚えている。今とは少し違っていたね。君には感謝している、アティ。僕が最低限生きていられるのは、おそらくは君の力によるところが大きい。体温を失い、睡眠欲と食欲を失った僕は、ああでもされなければ、身体機能と生命をまともに維持できないだろう。僕も分かっているつもりではある。生物が動くには燃料が必要だ。
He is messed up, man. Like he's fucked up. He's how do I put it? He's going through it, man. He's going through it. Imagine doing the same, just taking care of these guys' mutations and just treating these lower class citizens just every single day, seeing all these drugs and all the poverty. Oh my god. Oh, that's gotta fuck you up somehow.
そう。エンジンと同じに、エネルギーは何かを燃焼させなくては発生してくれない。けれど、なぜか、僕はコーヒー以外を口にできない。使用期限がとうに切れた栄養剤を打って気休めをするくらいしかできない。だからありがとう、アティ。君には感謝している。無理やり物を口に詰め込もうとする行為、たまに窒息しそうになるけれど、君には感謝しているんだ。ありがとう。君がいなければ、君が言葉をかけてくれなければ、僕はこの年で生きてはいけなかった。
Huh. I like this. This is cool. This is cool. We can see more into the character's thoughts because honestly, it's very difficult to tell. Like with the clown and all that, especially the clown. I don't know what's up with that. Let me save right here, and we're going to keep going. Of course, yes, sir. I'll probably stay muted for most of when he talks, unless I want to add something. So, yeah. Come on. The first time you try to save, it takes like a little bit of time. So, there you go. All right, scene 2.
ここはひどく不思議な都市。何もかもが奇妙で、まるで歪んでしまったかのよう。知らないものがたくさん。
Is this each character's thoughts? Holy crap. That would be cool. All right, Kia, let's see what's up with you.
物もたくさん、人もたくさん。こんなに多くの人を見たのは初めて。パレードなのかしらと思っても、そういうわけじゃないみたい。わからないことがたくさん。だから私はじっと見つめてしまう。失礼にならない範囲でじっと。知らないことがたくさんあるとし、なぜだか胸が弾む。ここは 誰も彼もが不思議、誰もが当然の顔をしているけれど、見たことのない人だらけ。私は驚いてポカンとして、だから危うく連れられそうになって、大きな男性に引っ張られて、嫌と言っても無視されてしまって、もうダメと思ったの。でもね、でもその時あの人が声をかけてくれた。なんとか私は無事でいられた。怖かった、すごく怖かった。でもあの黒い女性は素敵だった。一度見たら忘れない。
Okay, so she's just talking about the events of what just happened, right? What happened last episode during that fight with the mutated guy, and Ati came in to save Guy. Yeah, I'm remembering their names. Yes, sir.
あんなにかっこよくて綺麗で、私が見とれてしまいそうになったのをあの女性は気づいたかしら。
She stole my cred. No way.
気づいていないといいけど。見つけた。
Huh?
やっと目にすることができた。嬉しい気持ちが胸に広がる。やっと見つけた。
Oh?
不安な気持ちも少しだけ。
She's staring at me. I think she's talking about Addie.
あなたはどうなのかな。どう思うの。私を見てあなたは何を思うのだろう。
What? Who's she talking to? All right. Okay. Okay. Real quick save. Scene 3. Let's go.
キー、クラッキングだ。
Addie!
私との古い馴染みで巡回医師。一言で言えば変わり者。彼を知ってるみんながそう言う。私もそう思う。変わってる。いろいろと。体温のほとんどない体。どこを見てても物を見て
Damn!
慣れた景色に出会ってもそんな目をする。わざわざ医療用に特化しちゃって戦闘に全く使えないクラックもあれも変わってる。力があれば稼ぎになる。ランナーにも犯罪者にもなれるのにさ。あ、どっちも似たようなもんだっけ。ギーは変わってる。見た目こそ人間のままだけどさ。中身が変わってるからそう言われる。見た目のおかしさなら勝る連中はいくらでもいるんだし。変わり者、ギー。でも、私はそんなに嫌いじゃない。この年で生き抜くのは楽じゃない。面倒なことばっかりさ。何をするにも金、金、金。シリングがないと何もできやしない。もちろん、住む層によって必要な量の金は変わってくる。上の方ならたくさん、下の方なら安くで済む。
Yeah, of course, right? Because upper tiers are wealthy.
部屋の出来も食べ物の味の種類も買える服だって変わってくる。かける金が少ないともう大変。層の下の方に行けば行くほど生活の水準はぐんぐん下がっていって、手に負えなくなってくる。
Yeah.
第一層や二層で豊かに暮らしたければ次の人生では高い層に生まれるよう願うか、金を稼いで居住権を購入するしかないんだ。ああ、そうだった。頑張らなくてもいい連中の方が多いさ。生まれた層が第一層なら豊かに、生まれた層が第七層なら貧乏。生まれた層
Oh,
が最下
7
位
tiers? What? There's more than 7 tiers?
私たちランナーとかになると偽造居住権だって手に入れやすくなるし、一発当てれば大きな稼ぎにもなる。
My gosh.
でもまあ 普通は無理。それなりの努力をくぐって修羅場を抜けないとね。私だって結構名の知れたランナーだけど、部屋は雑踏街の近くだし。もっとも倉庫代わりの部屋ね。ちゃんと寝るのは銀のとこが多いし。
あ
確か銀も偽造居住権のはず。元はどこの生まれか覚えてないや。ま、どこで生まれたって同じさ。ああ、もちろん食えるだけの腕があるならの話。そういえばあの子、ギーのところへ置いてきたあの女の子、名前は確かキーヤって言ってた。ずいぶん仕立てのいい服着てたっけ。どこの娘なんだろう。雑踏街をうろつくにしてはちょっと品もいいし若いみたいだし。不思議な子。そもそもなんであそこにいたのか。しばらくは注意していようかな。ギーがあんなになって助けた子だしね。
Good call. Good call.
悪い子じゃなさそうだし。スタニスワフの亀人には内緒にしよう。あのじじい何言うかわからないし。ランナーが人の面倒なんて変だし。
Huh. So she knows Stanislaw as well. 1, 2, 3. We are on 4. Okay, scene 4.
まだ彼が
Oh, sell him.
学生だった頃の話。
All right.
確か彼は理論肌の学生だったと思う。医療現場よりも理屈の方が優先で。それが今は巡回医師。なんだかおかしいね。女の子からは好かれる方だったと思う。よく覚えていないけれど、確かそう。
That's facts. Just based on what we seen. I mean, yeah. Yeah, he's a magnet.
母性本能をくすぐるとか熱意の
Hey, yo! He tickles your maternal instincts? That's a way to put it.
そんな話をよく聞いたっけ。熱意、今の彼にあるのかな。熱意、熱意か。ギーとは同級生。こちらもあちらも真面目な医学生だった。どちらも同じ上層大学入学試験に受かったエリート候補。もっともこちらの方はといえば彼ほど優秀じゃなかった。自負はもちろんあったけれど、上層に選ばれた優秀な人間だっていうそれなりのプライドと優越感と。でもそれも崩れ去ってしまった。10年前の時、思い出したくない。それに復活の日のことはそもそも記憶が断片的だから。
What happened? No one remembers the day of revival?
ちょうどいい。思い出せなくて構わない。
Oh.
思い出すと狂ってしまうか
What
ら。
What happened?
狂ってしまうか
What the hell?
ら。だからちょうどいい。かつてエリートだった。
Nah, bro. The apostles came out and massacred everyone. Satan himself came out from hell and massacred everyone.
それだけあれば別にいいといつも言い聞かせて。
No way.
自分と緑色の彼に。
I guess it doesn't matter by now. If it's been a decade and things are this way, like right now, like the past is in the past. A decade, that's a long time. Yeah. You might as well put it behind you, forget about it. You don't want to damage your psyche.
女性差別主義というものがある。 10年前から存在していたとある主義だった。ギーはそうでもなかったけれど、こちらの方はだいぶ影響を受けた。エイダ主義とかいう北欧帝国発祥の女性優位主義だか男女平等主義だかがまずのさばってきて、差別主義はそれに対するアンチテーゼ、一も二もなく飛びついた。女は家庭にいるべきであって、そもそも男の場に出るものじゃない。そう信じていたから、差別主義は渡りに船だった。もっともそのせいで随分と辛い思いをしてきた。
Oh.
この今、取り返しのつかない苦労、狂ってしまって。
What happened to her? Holy man. Oh, this is kind of messed up. I think I know what they're implying. Oh, this world is crazy. What happened on the day of revival, man? Will they ever tell us? Scene 5, I guess. About Inganock. The royalty and nobility owned first-class engine city Inganock. That's the name it once went by. Presently, no one calls it that. Everyone calls this place the Fantastic City. Located at the southern tip of the eastern continent, it's the capital of the engine cities that were once owned by allied kings and nobles. Some say that it's like an enormous castle. Originally, it was a multi-tiered complete environment city whose construction was based on the Arcology city plan. It was an enormous construct with several stacked tiers that over 1 million citizens called home. 1 million citizens. The lower tier citizens live in the lower tiers, which make up 98% of Inganock. All the tiers besides the city's peak. 2% of Inganock live in that peak. It's called the upper tier. It's the castle of the city's controllers, the upper tier aristocrats. The arcology plan had been proceeding smoothly. Inganock was at long last about to become the ideal city, but now it was the fantastic city. Ever since that day, that time, year 2206 by Central Northern Reckoning. What? Year 533, month 12, day 25, by the Allied Kings and Nobles Reckoning. In other words, the destined day of revival. The city was enveloped in the explosive formation of the infinite mist and completely isolated from the outside. And then the city changed into its new mutant form. What the hell? Why was this prophesized? It says the destined day of revival, like it was prophesized. First, the people mutated. Next, fearsome and fantastic monsters materialized. Then, strange, never before seen diseases ran rampant in every tier. It was hell, one researcher said. The details of that event no longer remain in any memories or records. 1 month after that day, the city's population plummeted to 500,000. Half? Terror and despair attacked the people. Time passed for a while. Then the city's ruler, Grand Prince Astia, presented his phenomenon equation in crack engines, and the people gained new means of living in the city. No, coexistence with the city. The kings of those fearsome beasts currently hold their breath, and despite fears of the occasional monster or strange disease, people are continuing to live their lives. Very few of them dreamed of tomorrow. This is Inganock, the fantastic city that none speak of. A city covered by a gray sky and an infinite mist, where no one ever speaks of dreams of tomorrow. About the city's lower tiers. They make up 98% of Inganock. The term refers to everything other than the city's peak. All manner of extravagance and poverty can be found in the lower tiers. Mercy is the only thing not to be found. Separated into tier plates numbered from 1 to 13, the higher parts... 13 tiers? The higher parts are inhabited by the bourgeois... I know how to say this. Bourgeoisies? I'm going to say bourgeoisies. And entrepreneurs. The lower one goes, the more the poverty stands out. A complete environment city whose resources are kept secure to some degree by the city's internal production system, a remnant of the ecology plan. Within the city, economic activity is freely permitted. That might be why socioeconomic gaps stand out far more than they did 10 years ago. It's said that some in the lowest tiers starve to death. Even now, somewhere in the lower tiers, there are city orphans who've lost their parents. Only engine factory owners might adopt them. In the city's lower tiers, most humans are either consumers or laborers, or else they're nothing more than salesmen. If that was 10 years ago, there might have been someone preaching reason. However, no one would accept such a thing now. The citizens will even accept the murders committed in the name of Grand Prince Astia's city law. The 41 huge brutal fantasies that appeared in the city of Inganock. Within a single month of the revival, it said that the creatures killed 500,000... What?! Within a single month of the revival, it said the creatures killed 500,000 people? What? It just said the city had 1 million people, right? Before the day of revival. Then it dropped to 500,000. I was assuming they found a way to leave or something, but they got killed. They all died. I'm guessing they can't leave, because if they could leave, why wouldn't they? The mist is probably trapping them or something. I don't know. Holy crap! By 41 creatures. Oh my god, that's nightmarish. The people see the creatures as calamities. No one handles them like living things. Since they couldn't be defeated through physical means, they couldn't possibly be handled as such. Bullets and poison had no effect on the creatures. The creatures who imitate the forms of illusory fairy tale beasts are said to kill humans by the orders of some other entity. No way! It's the eclipse, bro! Oh, hell nah. Oh my lord. The difference between them and normal monsters is that they all have a spring screw somewhere in their bodies. There's sure to be one in the body of any creature. With heights ranging from 3 to 20 meters, no form of physical destructive force, other than their unique weakness, will ever harm a creature. They release a sound which stiffens the human mind. It's been called the voice of panic. It's also called the creature voice. It's known that a portion of them were subjugated, but many of them still remain dormant. About engines. Holy crap! They supply various forms of mechanical power, perform high-level calculations, and even manage information. I thought we were going to learn about that day, the day of revival. I thought we were going to learn about it way later, but apparently not. They're a key part of culture throughout all of the known world in which Inganock exists. At present, although Inganock is isolated from the rest of the world, it's no exception. Engines appear all over every tier of the city. They're all external combustion engines, and the greater their size, the greater the output. Aristocrats' mansions and engine factories, as well as some merchant homes, are allowed to set up large and medium-sized engines. At the level of an ordinary subject or citizen, one small engine exists in each house. In addition, these past few years, it's become normal for people to steal engine energy. The most popular targets are city administration's power conduits. They're used to power the large machines it manages in each tier. This is often done from the city skyscraper. It's located at the top of the city's lower tiers, and the stolen energy can be sent anywhere in the lower tiers. Man, I need some water. Alright. Inner voices. Hold up. So that was scene 5, right? Oh, I need some water. I'm not used to reading a lot. Alright, give me a sec here. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water. Yes, sir. We got some cold water here. Some freezing cold water. That's my favorite. Hold on, let me chug this real quick. Right quick. Oh. I left it in the freezer. So the opening is kind of frozen here. Oh well. Ah, yes, sir. Hold on, let me get some more. Ah, yes, sir. I don't give a damn. I ain't editing this out. No way. You're gonna hear me chug that. You're gonna hear it. Yes, sir. Alright. Scene 6. I wager it's gonna be more reading, so let's do it. Memories of 10 years ago. Within Inganock, not one person possesses accurate memories from back then. On that day, at that time, when the fearsome revival came to pass, nobody could hold on to their memories. No one could remember it. People can't return to that time. That's because of the terror, someone once said. Nobody wants to remember that month of suffering. That was a definite possibility. Those memories did connect to their pain, so it made sense to get rid of them, so it's like PTSD. However, that's not it. The reason why they can't remember, the reason why they won't remember, someone once said that its origin lies in them who gaze at people. About city law. The law of death established by Grand Prince Astia doesn't allow the weak to survive. The weak are sins of the city. Thus it is written in the preface. Those who've contracted severe illnesses or were injured by a monster are all given a trialless execution at the hands of the upper tier soldiers. The stated reason for its legislation is subtly different between the upper and lower tiers. In the lower tiers, the Grand Prince made the following formal announcement. Hold on. Just had to blow my nose there. So that those with level 2 or higher life impairment shall not markedly detract from their city's productivity. Oh, because they'd be hogging up the medical resources. The announcement given to the upper tier aristocrats was different. So if they're fatally injured and they're going to have a long recovery. They're either going to have a long recovery or they're going to die in the end. So you might as well kill them because you can put them out of their suffering and it'll be less demand on the medical resources. I guess that's where the logic goes. The announcement given to the upper tier aristocrats was different. It read as follows. Due to the fact that weakened bodies and minds beckon monsters to have their way with us and thus lead to many deaths. That was it? What? At present, exchange between the upper and lower tiers have been prohibited, so not one person is able to point out the contradictions between these two reasons for legislation. About the phenomenon equation and crack engines. Entirely new fantastical technologies researched and developed within the city of Inganock. They took form at the hands of the Grand Prince as he grew steadily more worried about the destruction and mutation of the city. He was also one of the great scholars. 2 years after the fearsome revival, the Grand Prince declared the success of the phenomenon equation experiment. Using his new technology, a certain mathematical theory can be implanted into one's brain. It could then produce phenomena surpassing the laws of physics. The theory was simply called the Astia theory. Colloquially, it's called the phenomenon equation, or simply cracking. Very few can master it, but that became the person's hope. The magic of fairy tales had been born. A destructive force that surpassed firearms and explosives. Powerful techniques for restoring a damaged body. Though it wasn't decidedly effective against monsters and creatures, the phenomenon equation had certain byproducts. Those were the crack engines. Engine machines created through the use of the phenomenon equation, either to be equipped on or implanted into a human body. They were originally developed as artificial limbs for hosts of physical mutations, but their present applications have expanded to include strengthening of the mind and body. Many humans in the lower tiers have substituted these engines for mutated bodies or limbs lost in monster attacks. Creature Wendigo! One of the smaller creatures, though still much bigger than a human. After several sightings of it, it was assigned the name of a reportedly similar-looking wolf beast, said to reside in the snow-capped mountains of the eastern continent. It was nocturnal and known to feed on humans. It said that it devours the very mind and terror of its victims as nourishment, but the details are unknown. It rarely attacks humans on its own, instead choosing to lure victims toward it using its reformation ability, its hypnotic powers. Once 5 years ago, there was a fearsome sacrificial cult made up of those hypnotized by it. What? The cult brought about a great many sacrifices, but once it was destroyed by the street knight, Wendigo disappeared as well. Holy, give me a sec. Water break. Alright. That's all the scenes. I assume that's part of the minigame. If it was, that was very vital information, and I do not know why it gave us the option. Well, I guess if it's your second playthrough, then yeah, it makes sense to skip all these, but... interesting. Very interesting. So, from what I gather, the day of revival was just a day where just intense mist surrounded the whole city of Inganock, and 41 or like 42, I think 41, like huge-ass monsters came out, terrorizing the city, killing everyone in their sight, and wiped out half the population of the city, and no one could escape. So eventually they just lay dormant, right? And they're just not really doing anything. They're just chilling, right? And now these people are they just moved on. They're just trying to live on. They probably can't escape because of the mist. And people are mutating. That's just a way of life now. Holy crap. Okay. Well then. Let's go.
ゆうべは助けてくれてありがとう。私キーヤ。あなたは？
I'm Kia, and you?
お名前は何というの？キーというの？愛称なの？お医者様なの？だって薬瓶がたくさんあるから。それでキー、あなたのお年はいくつ？
The taciturn impression he had of her must have been due to the way they met. The girl who called herself Kia talked a lot. She'd asked for his name, his line of work, and his age. She smiled while whispering that the room was lovely and then asked again if his wounds were alright. My wounds are fine. They're nothing to worry about for now. He kept saying that, but she just wouldn't believe him. She appeared to not know about the phenomenon equation. Guy thought it was quite unusual, though he'd heard that at least one part of some tier doubted the equation's existence. By listening to Kia, he figured out that Addie had carried them both all the way back. For some reason, Addie wasn't there. Maybe she wasn't good with kids? Your wife? Your wife, that's crazy.
ビズがあったかな。いや、彼女は奥さんではないよ。
そうなの？そうなの？
ああ、
Was there a need to ask that twice in a row? Guy shrugged his shoulders.
そうなの
3 times.
少し失礼するわ。
His torn muscle fibers and broken bones stung. Guy put his right hand against his side. Activate cranial organs. Begin substitution healing via cracking. As he correctly rewrote the scattered numbers one by one, his broken ribs slotted back into place. He didn't need his right eye to tell. All that was smashed was healed anew, and all that was broken was replaced. Even so, it hurt quite a bit. Light leaked out of his palm. It sparkled like a blue jasper. The crackling light had no reflection in the mirror and penetrated the body with a shallow coldness. Only a few seconds. It was hold on, bro. I got this. Sickeningly easy to heal external wounds like this. This blue light had defeated and discouraged many surgical doctors, and a pair of eyes were gazing with great interest at that spectacle.
何それ綺麗な光
Imagine you're a... Bro.
傷大丈夫
Imagine you're a surgeon and you lose your job to that bullcrap. No way. No way. After the day of revival too, everyone's going through it, and then you lost your job because the prince found out an equation that could just heal your butt. No way, bro. Is that making you better?
クラッキングだよ。
This is called cracking.
ほら、
Look, my wounds are already healed. She poked him in the side several times. No pain, just a slight
クラッ
numbness.
キングそれをかざすと怪我が治ってしまうの不思議ね綺麗にパチパチ輝く
手品さ。面白いものでもない。そう珍しくもない。
He erased the endoscopic light that his right eye had created and clapped his hands together. Thus ended Guy's trick. Kia had been staring intently at it, and now raised her head as if just remembering something. She spun around looking at things in the room, then nodded.
そうだ食事を用意したのお礼に少しお掃除もしたけれどまだしていないところがたくさんキーヤはお掃除続けるからギーはご飯を食べてしまって
いや、俺は結構だよ。助けたのは僕ではなくて、あの女性だよ。
奥さんにはお弁当を渡しておいたのギー
Bro.
まだだもん
お礼はいいから家に帰りなさい。あと、奥さんではないから。
知ってるわギー助けてくれたって奥さんあの人が来てくれるようにそう計算していたでしょ
Oh, what? How does she know that?
いいから帰りなさい。家事の手はもう足りているから。
本当に
本当に。
いや帰りたくない
She said that and pouted. Guy was surprised. A child who didn't want to go home was effectively an orphan. Even Perrault, Lupo, and Poland. Kids like them weren't rare. In general, such kids hated their foster parents in educational facilities. At least all the ones Guy knew did. Not once over the last 10 years had he heard of a registered foster parent or facility that didn't treat orphans as mere mouths to feed. Not even once.
この子か。
何ギー
No, this girl was no orphan. Her clothes were in too good of a condition. Just by looking at her, one could tell that she was probably a daughter of some citizen in the 6th class or higher, from one of the few families with blessings to count.
家出のわけもあるし。
and yet she was unlike any orphan he'd ever met. The education program received by 6th class girls was basically a re-imprinting of the city plan and the upper tier superiority. There was no way she'd autonomously move to another tier. Such conduct was illegal. It was prohibited by the city law at the core of her imprinting. A case of failed imprinting? No, the chances of it were 0, but even for a joke, it's not that good. There had to be another possibility. Another possibility. For example, the possibility that she was kidnapped by a slave trader? Even by mistake, no 6th class citizen would be put in those lineups. If she was, she'd be very expensive. Plus, she was too much for that ogre to deal with. It was a matter of conduct and temperament.
キア、そのカバンの中身見せてもらえるかな。
いいわ。でもスタジオはダメ。恥ずかしい。
Bro, what?
桃色の袋だから開かないでね。絶対に開かないでね。
Okay, bro. Was she showing displeasure? No, that wasn't it. Kia showed him the suitcase with a surprising directness. She removed the combination lock and opened it right under the engine lamp. It looks just like a traveling suitcase. Such absent-minded thoughts threw Guy's mind into chaos. I can see her suitcase, but what is this? What is this? This is tightly packed, very tightly packed. He thought it looked like a traveling case, but he couldn't infer anything at all from that. Girls' clothes of diverse colors were packed together tightly. Yes, it really was a traveling suitcase. Guy doubted his own eyes. Girls' clothing probably all in Kia's size. They were all crammed in there. Countless articles of clothing, tightly packed. A traveling case. For a person to go on a journey somewhere, for someone heading to a faraway place, the last time he'd seen such a multi-purpose item was, yes, back then. It must have been years ago. He nearly drowned in sentimentality, but he managed to stop himself. This wasn't about that. This many clothes packed together so tightly.
待て。混乱しているぞ、キア。待て。なんだ、この服の量は。仕立ても悪くない。いくらするんだ、これは。これは。
Guy looked up at the girl peering down at him. I'll have to make sure my voice is calm, to prevent his own confusion from being conveyed. I had a sneeze, bro. Alright, we good. I got it out. However, the voice that rolled out of his lips came with a number of faults.
これはすごいね。こんなに服がある。キア、どこへ行くつもりだった？
ここ。
That sounded good to me. Here?
なんでもないの。持っていたもの全部持ってるだけだから。
This isn't nothing. What a bad joke. She wanted to come here? With so many clothes? Packed into her suitcase so tightly? This kind of wardrobe certainly wouldn't come cheap. Even if they were mass-produced by an engine factory, they'd be luxury items even for an 8th class citizen. The clothes in her suitcase. They were in such good condition, just like what Kia was wearing right then. They ought to have cost her a lot. If there were only one or two, he wouldn't be surprised. It was because there were so many packed together so tightly. There was even a maid outfit inside. This wasn't something a girl would walk around with. This was a small fortune.
質問を変えよう。君の家はどこにあるのかな？どの層？ちなみにここは仮想第28区域。7層目だ。
What? This is the 28th lower tier district on the 7th tier? What? There's tiers within tiers? There's nested tiers? This is confusing, man.
ご飯冷めちゃ
She said that and pouted again. Guy heaved a sigh. Such a huge traveling case. Why? Filled with expensive clothes. Why? Her polite answers imply a good upbringing. Why? Why doesn't she want to go home? Why?
早く食べて。冷めちゃうし片付かないし、熱いうちの方が美味しいのだし。
He just didn't know. Who or what was this girl? The rain poured down. It poured directly into some tears and was conveyed through the supports and others. You know what this reminds me of? The beginning, like the Western style thing it got going on, kind of reminds me of Steamroll Dig. Like that. And then the flute? I don't know what the flute reminds me of, but I know the beginning of that song gives like massive like Steamroll Dig vibes. It poured directly into some tears and was conveyed through the supports and others. Countless raindrops covered the whole of Inganock. In the lowest tier, they fell down in waterfalls. Between the gray clouds and the infinite mist enveloping the city, any rain that began to fall often took a while to stop. It was almost guaranteed to still be raining tomorrow. Rainwater contaminated by smog poured down across his vision. Guy liked the rain. It was useful for taking his mind off the illusory clown. Guy had gone out in the rain, taking Kia with him. He pulled the collar up on his reconstructed cloak and covered the girl's face with his sleeve. None of the clothes the girl brought with her had a hood. If only she had a Sekien umbrella, Guy thought. The umbrella had been invented in a place called London in the foreign land of Sekien, I don't know. It hadn't penetrated into the eastern continent yet, but had reached the central northern empire. That was a long time ago. It was all over 10 years old now. Ever since Inganock became isolated, no form of exchange or trade had taken place with any other continent. Kia asked inside his cloak. She didn't seem any different from before. He was going to see fixture Stanislaw. I can't even... My brain is slowing down. This could become a formal request, but he wouldn't mind. He observed the girl's clothes in detail. What she was wearing wasn't first-rate, but it was still very well made. Yet she called those her going-out clothes. They were huge pieces of evidence for finding a lead on her home. He needed to locate her guardian. He didn't care whether it was a third-class citizen, a second-class, a sewing machine, or a sewing engine, or a dressing engine. Return her home? Yes, to where this girl belongs. If left alone, she was bound to be kidnapped. Of course, if that happened, Guy would become the culprit. He wanted to avoid squabbles with the police organization city management as much as possible. His walk through the rain quickened. He pulled the girl along as she tried to gaze at a small crawling up one of the roadside trees. They were headed for an infinitely crowded street. For a moment, his eyes wandered off toward a back alley. Should he use the shortcut or not? Guy hesitated and entered the alley, a roundabout and narrow path. The buildings sheltered them from most of the rain. Several people had come into the alley before them. Were they sleeping in the rain, or taking the same detour? One of the silhouettes waved to him. He knew who it was before he could even ask. Salem. I've run into her again?
これで3日連続運命的な出会いかしら。お互いいくらか濡れてしまってるけど。その子。
Before Guy could open his mouth to explain, Salem gave an expression of deep surprise. Along with that feeling, there was also a slight sense of disappointment. Ah, she was misunderstanding something. Guy sighed and shook his head, hoping to explain himself.
君の想像は多分外れだ。この子は
キーヤと言います。よろしく。サレムさん？
その子、君、娘？
Hey, what?
違うよ。迷子でね。 から家を探しに行くところだ。
そうよね今日の冗談はびっくりしたわ。
He didn't make a joke.
まさか奥方でもいるのかってそんなわけない。
Why is she so jealous?
いいえ、サレム。ギー奥さんはいるみたい。
いる
No!
いないいない。
Well, kind of.
キーヤ、初対面
They gotta be something. Friends with benefits.
都市計画プログラムで習わなかった。返事は円滑な人間関係の基礎だ。
He tried saying things he vaguely remembered. For some reason, he felt a bit sorry for Salim. Her expression remained stuck in its surprised state.
はーい。
よろしい。
Kia's changing expressions reminded him of those 3 children. How many parts of their own bodies did those children have to leave behind? Guy shrugged his shoulders, then said some other time, and left in a hurry to fix her Stanislas. Bleh. That was why. That was why Guy didn't notice.
出て行け。後ろを向け。そして歩け。もう来るな。
Oh,
口を開くな。
he's done.
何も言うな。俺を見るな。
Nah. He's so pissed. Those were the first things he said. Guy wiped the rain off the girl's cheeks and hair with a handkerchief as Stanislaw began explaining. If the man was more agile, he might have turned Guy around himself. His anger was so forceful in its silence, Guy couldn't help but imagine him doing such a thing.
よくないな。ああ、よくないぞそれは。冗談を俺に言うなよ、ドクターギー。迷子の家探しだと。お前は探偵か、それともランナーか。己の分をわきまえろ、ドクターよ。お前さんは弱ったやつを直してりゃいいんだ。よりによって今ガキだと。
分相応かどうかは今はいい。この子のことが知りたい。家はどこか、誰なのか。
キーヤって言ったの。
名前はキーヤ。頼むよ、フィクサーです。これは依頼だ。一応金は払うつもりだ。それでも心配は。
この時節にガキの案件なんざ参るってんだ。なんだいキーヤ嬢ちゃん、その膨れ面は。ガキじゃない。
レディーです。
A brat attack?
ドクター、もう冗談を覚えさせたのか。
冗談なんて言ってないよ。ミスター・スタニスワ。
ミスター。
ええ、ミスター。
作法はある。いいとこのガキか。お前の手持ちじゃおおむね依頼不成立だ。今までの歌詞を使うかね。
歌詞。
I like this guy. I like Stanislaw. He's like my plug. My plug. For a moment, he hesitated. He'd always refused excessive remuneration from his healing, and that'd been a boon to his merchant. Would he use that? Right here and now? How many years' worth would that be? Guy looked at Kia. She'd narrowed her eyebrows and was shaking her head. Don't overdo it, her expression said. Guy made his decision as soon as he read it.
歌詞を使う。よろしく頼む。
ギー、キーヤはきっと役に立つわ。一切の邪魔はしないと約束するし。
ダメだ。君が言わない以上、こうするのは僕の絶対のルールだ。初対面の人に二度も膨れ面を見せない。君は淑女なんだろ。
はい。
仲のいいことで 本当に初対面か。しかしドクター、本気か。
They met before.
使い切る主義でね。
They met before.
本気だと思う。
初めて聞いたぞ。なるほど。そういう主義なら仕方がない。今のはここ1年で最も笑える冗談だった。
As he said that, Fixer Stanislaus' face twisted, as if unsatisfied. Was it a difficult request? If so, maybe Guy had been too impulsive. You could see Stanislaus writing reluctantly in a notebook. Could he expect results from this? Still, he was making such a discontented face. He'd known this turtipod long enough to understand his expression, but this was just... She was also making quite the troubled face. You could tell that right away.
へえ。
Hey, Addie! What's up?
よく亀じいに依頼なんかしちゃって、むしり取られても私知らないからね。それでギー、女の子連れたまま仕事してたの？こんな時間になるまでずっとお仕事？あ、待って、言わないで。してたでしょ。疲れた顔の具合がそんな感じ。仕事した後。神経太いってか、ほんと無神経。知らない子連れたまま他人の内臓いじりなんてよくできたもんだわ、ドクター。
気にすることか。
何？開き直ってるのそれ？
開き直ったりはしないよ。そうか。気にするか。
私が患者ならね。
そういうものか。
そういうものなの。そんなだから待ち合わせも忘れるのさ。もう夜なんだから、せっかく買った懐中時計が持ち腐れ。
見る日もある。
見ない日もある？
そういうこともあるかな。
もう、何それ。
いや、君が正しいよ。今日は雨だ。
He looked past the taboo, oh my god, the tobacco smoke floating through the tavern and out the window. He could see a sky unchanged since that morning, a wet sky. The rain continued to pour, soaking through the cloaks of anyone outside. Night never came to a rainy Inganock. It was night in terms of time, but that was all. Time didn't apply to the sky's darkness or the city's lights. That was how it was on rainy days. It'd been a simple truth for the past 10 years. Consequentially, there was said to be two suns. The cloudless sun and the rainy sun. The other sun born 10 years ago, the one which erased the night on rainy days, it was just a rumor. No one had ever proven it. The sparkle on the other side of the thick gray clouds couldn't be seen with human eyes anyway.
なぜ夜なのに明るいの？あと、このパンとっても甘くて美味しい。何これ？
太陽が2つあるって話聞いたことない？雨の日にはね、別のお日様が昇るのさ。あとそれはね、パンじゃなくてナン。遠い西京の小麦粉料理。バターをね、パンに塗るよりずーっと多く練り込むの。ふわふわでパンじゃないみたいでしょ。硬くないもんね。
硬くない。柔らかくて。あ、本当バターの香り。パティは物知りなのね。ねえギー、あなたの奥さんはとっても物知りだわ。遠い国の料理のことも知ってるなんて。
奥さん？
She blinked twice. She glanced left, then right, and blinked once more. She pointed to herself with a partially retracted claw. Addie tilted her head.
奥さん？うん。やだ。何この子、奥さんって。いやね、もうね、大人をからかうんじゃないの。よね、いい？
アティ。
何？いい？
この子のことなんだが、何か聞いていないだろうか。尋ね人の依頼の話は。
He was like, no.
2級か3級の等級市民で家族を探すとか、そういった類なのだ。
聞いてないと思うけど。そもそもさ、どうして私と約束した飲みの席にこの女の子がいるのかなって。キーはまるで当然みたいな顔してるし、多分私聞いてないんだけどな。どうなの？どう思ってんのさ、そのあたり。またキー全然食べてないし飲んでないし、私だけもりもり食べて飲んでるみたいな感じ。
Asked about what yet?
時間なのに。
Asked about what yet? Oh, this?
どうした？
別に何でもないのさ。今夜は遠慮した方が良さそうだって言ったの。それだけ。いい？遠慮しないと困るでしょ？
遠慮？
そう、遠慮。そこそこ大人な話。
Why was that? Something adults did. Guy shrugged his shoulders and gazed out the window. The sky hadn't changed since midday. It's still gray. The second sun. The one that only rises on rainy days. Yes, that sun held back far too much. Many people found it unpleasant on nights like these, but Guy didn't dislike the rainy sun. It would probably still be pouring down tomorrow. The rain seemed to be quite strong this time. That was right. The rain would continue falling for a few days. During that time, he'd be able to ignore the illusion of the clown. But even that only applied outdoors. It wouldn't work indoors. In places like this, it was the same as usual. When he was in his apartment or when he was visiting a patient's home, it was no different than usual. Yes, just as usual. As usual. Nothing's changed. Nothing should have. And yet, for some reason, tonight seems to be an exception. Certainly nothing had changed in regards to his vision. Even now, the illusion danced at its edge. The problem was the apartment's lock. It was open. The wooden front door had been left open. Not the same as usual. There's no way I could have forgotten to lock it. Not the same as usual. Is there someone inside? Guy looked through the open door, checking the room inside. Was someone in there? Or not? Robbery wasn't unusual, but there weren't many people on this tier with money. There were far better targets 2 or 3 tiers higher, and yet the door was wide open. He could see clearly into the room. Even the engine lights were flickering. Who in the world?
遠慮しない人がいたの？
そういう冗談は言うものじゃない。少し下がっていなさい。そういう顔をしない。廊下の方にいなさい。近づかないで。
Guy moved away from Kia and sharpened his senses. It was possible that someone was still in here. Probably some kind of burglar. A simple thief would just take the stuff and run, but there were a few who might lose their head. He could only hope that this time was the former. He should have brought Addie along. Maybe he should have been carrying that handgun for self-defense like she always told him to. As if he had the resolve to carry anything like a handgun. He approached the door. He looked inside without entering. Someone drenched from the rain had left watery footprints. A child? No. A woman? Had Addie returned before him after they parted at the engine tavern? No, that couldn't be. She wouldn't have lied to Guy about that.
誰かそこにいるな。すぐに出てこい。物取りならそのまま出ていけ。
俺は悪くない。
A woman's voice. The moment he heard and recognized it, a strong impact assaulted Guy's entire body, shaking him to the core. A strong power began moving within his nerves, surging through them. It wasn't a gun. Of course it wasn't a knife either. An attack-type phenomenon equation, either destructive or focused. His nerves and legs couldn't withstand the shock. He crumpled. His nerves were dead. His cranial organs wouldn't move. As a result, Guy couldn't activate his own equation. He couldn't speak. He couldn't scream. He couldn't tell the girl to run. This voice. It couldn't be. I know her. What? The sound of a clock. Is it time? Is it time? It continues to call. The second hand moves. It stops, pointing right at 0 o'clock. It is a pocket watch of white silver. It is a pocket watch carried by one man. The golden spiral staircase towering into the darkness. The man standing at the foot of it is none other than the silver watch's owner. With his master in the corner of his eye, continuing to climb the golden spiral staircase, the man continues to gaze at the watch motionless. The man continues to gaze at the watch and speaks. Like a chrome-built, machine-wound doll in an inorganic voice.
今回はどれほど持つか。せめていいやな。
I opened my eyes. For a moment I was puzzled. My eyes were opened, but everything was still black. There was a thick, familiar stench in the air. He heard a metallic scraping sound. He didn't know the place or the time. Where was this? He was sure that his eyes were open, but it was completely black. Where in the world was he? If nothing else, he wasn't lying on his bed. Guy was in the center of darkness, with both knees down on the cold stone floor. What happened, man? He took control of his turbid consciousness. No windows. No brightness breaking through the gray clouds. The other sun wasn't here. Just darkness. A moist sensation. A far too familiar stench. Was it blood? He first learned the odor of rusted iron as a child. Now he could clearly tell what it was. Blood. The scent permeated the whole space. That metallic sound again. It echoed exceedingly well. Was he in a closed area? It was probably indoors. Underground? At the very least, this wasn't the apartment. All he had there was a small wine cellar. He had no underground room that could echo this well. His consciousness awakened further. His apartment. An intruder. A sudden attack. Yes, he'd been attacked with a phenomenon equation. Had he been unconscious since then? He was here now. He tried to move his body, and the metallic sound echoed again. Something heavy. His arms shouldn't move freely. I'm connected to the wall somehow. Chained? He'd managed to grasp the big picture. He'd been taken away and confined somewhere. That assailant. That voice. He certainly had heard it before. He knew that voice. No way! This voice, the same as before, a voice he recognized, he knew. Guy knew it all too well. The extraordinary insanity poured out in excess, taking the form of a voice as it leaked out. That voice. The sound of insanity itself overflowing. Is that Salem? It's Salem. It's Salem, bro. What? It's her, bro. Where was she? Not that far. Close by. Somewhere in this underground room.
どこなの何度も何度も体を開いてわかるか
Is she good?
わからないよお前にはわからないわかるわけないんだ気が狂いそうになるよ何度も何度も何度もこらえて何度も何度も怪我されて何度も何度も何度も何度も
That voice was approaching him. Slowly, those footsteps came toward
切
Guy.
れずに狂ってまた狂ってさ10年こっちはずっと休む暇なく何度も何度もさこの俺が
One step at a time, she approached. She wailed as she did. She approached. At long last, he was able to see the woman talking.
この俺が女なんかになったのお笑いだろ笑えよおかしいだろなあギー笑ってくれよ俺のこと
Salem. The smell of medicine bottles. The way he looked in a white coat. His high voice laughing at imperial tabloids. Yes, it was him. His high voice. His soft yet shallow laugh. Despite all that had changed over the last 10 years, he recognized those two things. Guy didn't express those thoughts. Instead, the man opened his mouth. His clear smile soon disappeared. He saw his true expression.
お前も好きなだけ俺のこと笑えばいい哀れな男だとお前も蔑めよなあギー
What? What? A beautiful outfit resembling a butterfly. That face, that expression, and that skin. Is she a... I'm so confused. There was no mistaking it. It was Salem. I can't speak. Just what should I say to him? Huh? Huh? What? He became into a woman. What? For what purpose?
でもね大変だったんだよ俺もこの10年女の真似事をしてそう俺はね子供を産もうって決めたんだよギーこうなったからには女になろうって潔いだろ俺男らしいだろ受け入れようとしたんだほらこの体女の体を
He traced the skin on his own chest with his fingers. It was awkward, as if he was afraid of something, like a man touching a woman's skin for the first time. Salem's fingertips were shaking. He was touching his own skin, and yet they were shaking. That shaking came out in his voice, jostling the moistened space of the underground room.
女なんか俺が女になろうと決めた人生の全てを諦めたっていう
But why?
なのになあお笑いだよ産めないんだよ俺じゃ何をしても何度も何度も何度も体を開いてどんなに男を貪ってもこの体は妊娠してくれないんだよ
He shrugged his shoulders after speaking. That habit was the same as before when he wore the white coat 10 years ago. He used to do that a lot when berating himself for trivial failures. The smell of medicine bottles. How he looked in a white coat. His high voice laughing at imperial tabloids. Those hadn't changed. Had only his appearance changed? No, that was wrong. It was more than that.
なあ笑いよギー気づいた時には俺も笑ったねだって
この体には月経がないんだ。ないんだよ、この体には。子宮だ。もっとあんなにも蔑んでいた女にさけどその生物的機能すら果たせない。
His words stopped, and he brought his mouth to Guy's ear. As he laughed, he whispered,
もうクリーンしかないじゃないか。
Insanity, the smell of blood. It was still fresh. The sense of moisture, a windowless room, metal chains, and something horribly sticky. Could it really be called a lost cause? Trying to give birth to a child? Oh! Oh! The smell of blood was the mark of a tragedy. He had long been convinced of that. He killed them because he couldn't give birth to them? He killed them instead of giving birth to them? A ridiculous compensation, utterly illogical. It should have been, but he'd become insane a long time ago.
そうだよ。だから子供を殺す。だって殺すしかないだろ。他に俺に何ができるっていうの？ギー、変なこと言うなよ。
Salem laughed from the bottom of his heart as if it was fun, with a face and voice insisting that he'd just heard a ridiculous joke. It was the same as 10 years ago, but with an insanity completely different from the old one. What? Offering the deaths of children to who? Him. Who was that? A chill ran up through Guy's body. Like the moment just before contracting a fever, he had a bad feeling about it. Who was it? A human? He'd heard nothing more than a male pronoun. So what was making him shiver so violently? No way it was Saki Slaw, bro. He felt sick. Him. Who was that? A horrible pain throbbed against his head. What was it? Who was Salem talking about? Was it Saki Slaw, bro? Who did he mean by him? Another horrible headache. This was the stench of blood? No, of something else. An unendurable odor, a rotten smell. His consciousness shook. He felt as if his eyes were about to go white. The sensation resembled the phenomenon equation. Was someone attacking him? Physically, no. This was strong, psychological. Something was... It wasn't Salem. Right now, something was trying to control Guy's cranial nerves. What? What the hell? Who, bro? Stuck into the back of its neck was a spring screw. Salem screamed with delight as it showed itself behind him. A green fantasy. A hulking frame that resembled a horribly warped monkey. Its head scraped against the stone ceiling as it advanced. The color of its fur, though tinged with blackened blood, was a disgusting green. One could count at least 28 uneven teeth in its palate. They could easily crush a human skull. It exhaled a rotten breath and smiled. A beast. A genuine beast. This is no human. This is no fantastic mutant. He knew. Guy's whole body stiffened. It wasn't possible. His body, used to terror, shook and became numb. That sick feeling was none other than terror. This beast called forth the original terrors of the human race. Scary, scary. No, I gotta sneeze. I'm back. He wished the thing before him was nothing more than an illusion. There was no way this thing could still be here. There's no way a creature could be here. And yet here it is, in the flesh. The spring screw in the back of its neck is producing a grinding sound.
まさか本物嘘ありえない本物クリッターは
They should be dead. It can't be. This thing should have died 5 years ago. Guy knew the name of the beast. Wendigo. One of the 41 creatures that devoured people. One of the 41 great terrors that covered the city. There's no way I wouldn't know. Everyone who lived through the revival 10 years ago knew about them. The creatures. They are terror given powerful form. 10 years ago, this thing devoured 20% of the children in the lower tiers. Chrome blades and bullets all bounced right off of it. It was among the strangest of the strange. Those weren't the eyes of a mutated human. No number of monsters could ever defeat such a brutal beast. Not a single physical law held any meaning. This was a supernatural phenomenon and it killed people. Just like a disease.
こいつは死んだはず
Eating away at people, killing them like they were nothing. The kings of fantasies, the creatures, black terrors that scattered red blood. Its hollow eye sockets looked toward him, and then the fantasy smiled. It wasn't virtual, it was real. The record said it was subjugated by street night, but it was right there. It rattled his brains, his nerves, toyed with him. Like Salem, it told him to come. Come down here, to the depths of insanity. Do not disobey but fall into ruin. I won't plant it in you. Just leap into the insanity that's already within you. A voice.
美しいだろなあ見ろよギー
The Wendigo Oh my god. The Wendigo manipulated her.
こいつが全部食らってくれる俺に地獄をくれたトシを壊してくれるいいかギー子供を全部食らえばトシは消えるんだ地獄は消える俺もお前も元に戻るんだよあの日に帰れるんだ俺たち全員全部なかったことになる約束なんだよギーウェンディゴは俺とそう契約してくれたこいつにできないことはない子供さえ殺せば子供さえ殺せばたったそれだけでいいんだから
Oh my
ギー
nah.
お前も一緒にやろう
This isn't even her. The Wendigo. Oh my. Okay. I don't think she's even bad. She's under the Wendigo's influence.
一緒に帰ろうギー
This is massive cope. Massive cope. Salem laughed proudly yet dependently. He didn't even try to hide his insanity. Had he been released by this thing? Was that why his expression was beaming so brightly? But yes, but that was a lie, Salem. To Wendigo, whose very drool ran red, there was no emotions other than appetite and bloodlust. The abilities of creature Wendigo. One was the nullification of physical acts. The others were terror, infection, and reformation. Has Salem's brain been destroyed by its reformation ability? His own brain was screaming. He couldn't hold out for much longer. Even his cranial organs administering the phenomenon equation were in agony. He could not suppress the power working so hard to distort him.
拒むな受け入れろよギーお前には用意してあるんだ
用意
Prepared what? Oh! Over there, that girl. She's chained to the wall. Like a knight waiting upon a king, Selim reverently lowered his head before the fantasy beside the open black curtain in the darkness. It was Kia. Her eyes were closed and she was slumped down, chained to the wall. Selim hadn't let the girl go. He'd captured her and brought her here. The girl isn't moving. The thought she couldn't be is draining all the blood out of my body. She couldn't be dead. Had Selim killed her? When he had lost consciousness amidst the darkness, his fingertips, numbed with terror, moved. He forced his restraining arms into motion, and a sharp pain shot through his creaking joints. The clang of the chains rang out. The creature's power was violently twisting his nerves. Guy screamed, ignoring everything that tried to cloud his awareness with madness. Are you dead or alive? He didn't know, and yet... anyone but her. Are you alive? Please be alive. Guy begged and screamed. You'd better be alive. We have to get out of there right now.
そんなに心配するなよ。大丈夫。まだちゃんと生きてる。
Yeah, the Wendigo wants to eat her, man.
お前にもちゃんと見せて。
Show me?
人の目にすれば癖になるんだ。素敵だよ。君も絶対に気に入ってくれる。わからないって顔だね。じゃあ実演してみせる。ねえ、ウェンディゴ。この女の子に銀を見せてあげる。俺はね、初めて食わせた時に確信したんだ。
Convinced? Is that why you kill?
やめろ、サレム。お前は今正気を失っている。
失ってるからなんだってだろ。あの日より前に帰れるなら俺たちは何でもする。
Is that why you kill?
都市のもたらしたものなんかに寄り添って何を考えてるんだよ、ナギ。これは俺たちのために仕方のないことだ。
Is that why you
都
kill?
市はこのインガノックは俺たちの敵だ。気を許すな、敵と交わるな。こいつらは全員殺せ。
No, 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 no,
お前が
no.
言うんだよ。殺せ、食えって。さあ、やれよ、ギー。俺と一緒に帰れるんだ。
Nah, she lost it, bro. Is that why you talk about killing? Is that why you say those things, Selim?
やめろ。やめろ。サレム。やめろ。
You get choices? You get choices? Oh. Oh. Oh, 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 oh. I don't know, dog. Oh, this is insane. Oh, Speak, man.
サレム。
Words.
黙れよ、ギー。
He thought he heard words being spat out. A voice as if crying for someone to rely on. The unyielding voice of an abandoned child. There had to be something he could say to his old friend, but up until the end he couldn't say it. Guy's words were quickly cut off and his vision darkened. His neck shook with an unfamiliar sensation. Ah, so that's what it was. This was that creature's... He tried to continue speaking. He couldn't breathe. Something hot leaked from his lips. His eyes wouldn't open. His senses wouldn't operate. Was this the power of a creature? His phenomenon equation was unable to restore his body. His cranial organs wouldn't activate. His consciousness faded.
サレ
Is he dead? He couldn't complete his thoughts. Something within him was diffusing. This was... These 10 nightmarish years would end right here. That wasn't so bad. He had his regrets, but... He's dead! The illusion which should have been at the edge of his darkened vision. At long last, the clown disappeared. He's done. No way, man. Come on, dog. So is it gonna bring me back or not? Nah. No way. Oh! Oh! Close your eyes, dog. I don't know. I closed my eyes. Salem's screams wouldn't stop. He continued wailing something Guy couldn't make out. That's right. He did the same thing 10 years ago. Within the darkness, he thought, let's put an end to this. He couldn't endure seeing his old friend drown in madness. He had to stop him. But Guy had no means of doing that. None at all. Just like 10 years ago. He couldn't answer someone's cry for help. So he'd answer it now. He waited for Salem with his eyes closed. Something touched his neck along with the stench of the beast's breath. Something cold. These 10 nightmarish years would end here. That wasn't so bad. He was tired anyway. The illusion which should have been at the edge of his darkened vision, at long last the clown disappeared. And he's dead. Oh my gosh, man. I chose all the wrong choices. No way, man. Hold out your hand, I guess. I'll hold out my right hand. Towards Salem. Oh, that's what it meant. Toward Wendigo behind him. Or perhaps toward the chained girl. Stop! He screamed. He wasn't sure whether he spoke aloud. He wasn't sure, but he screamed. Guy screamed. He held out his right hand. No, his hand wouldn't move because it was connected to the wall by chains rusted with blood. His outstretched hand wouldn't move. In its place. He held out a different right hand. He extended his right hand forward. Guy's right hand wasn't moving. It was chained. And yet a right hand extended. A hand made of steel. It seemed to respond to Guy's thoughts. As if stirring, it continued to extend freely. How was I supposed to know this was going to happen? At all. The hand tore through the blood-soaked space like paper and extended into the darkness. 5 steel-colored fingers writhed and materialized. The finger joints scraped, making noises. It gave off sharp metallic sounds like the strings of a lute. What is this? Something was here. Someone was here. That wasn't Guy's hand. It came from someone behind him. Someone was extending a steel hand from behind Guy. The sound of grating steel rang out. Is this his persona? No way! This ain't Persona. Something was behind Guy. Who? What? Something covered in steel was behind him. Guy couldn't see it, but he knew. He knew something made of steel was extending a hand from behind him. He didn't have the slightest idea what it truly was. Human? No, this was something else. He didn't know who or what was there. Some great steel entity. No, that wasn't possible. That couldn't possibly be behind him. There was no way that could exist. But... Stop this. Like, ugh! He going crazy! He did know one thing. This hand moved as Guy willed it. His hand. It just extended forward.
おお、素晴らしきかな。第一の階段を盲目の生贄が登るのだ。現在時刻を記録せよ。クロッククラッククローム。貴様の望んだその時だ。レムルレムル、震えるがよい。第一の階段を盲目の生贄が登るのだ。あまねく者は見るがよい。これこそ我が愛の終焉である。黄金螺旋階段の果てに我が夢、我が愛の形あり。
He climbs, he climbs, he climbs. One master climbs the golden spiral staircase. He is the controller. He is the grand prince. He is the fool. The king of Inganock. The magician and scholar who discovered the phenomenon equation. He climbs the golden spiral staircase. One step at a time. Even now, he aims for the peak. He desires that at the highest place. And that which stands at the peak laughs. Even now. It lies at the end of the golden spiral staircase, a dark, confined space where the dregs of the king's dreams sleep. He who is trapped within the darkness laughs. Even now.
最後の機会が権限して
He who is trapped within the darkness laughs. Even now. He raised a voice of exaltation and extends his hand. However, there's no way that hand will move. Under the darkness, that hand merely writhes. His left hand merely writhes. The right hand of steel tears through the darkness. Covered in a steel helmet, a single light shining sharply.
され、僕、その子を殺すことはない。僕、誰かを殺さない。二度とだ。
He was already standing up. He was breaking the chains that held him to the wall. He silently extended his right hand forward. He also extended his right steel hand forward as if tracing a path. It moves. Yes, this thing moves. It actually moves as I will it. Something seemed to be wrong with his vision. There was no clown. Instead, he knew that there was a fantastic shadow behind him. He extended his steel arm and saw the same things as him. The forms of Salem and the creature. One of the 41 deaths. Even without activating his equation, he could see it. He shook off the power eroding at his cranial nerves. He and Guy glared at the green Wendigo. My right hand. It directs the steel hand as if it were my own. This isn't the phenomenon equation. However, somehow it feels real. There was something that he at his back could do. There was something that he and Guy needed to do. What should I do with this hand? I know the answer. That's why, right now,
なんだよそれギー、何を出した。その背後にいるのはなんだ。俺たちのために来てくれたんだぞウェンディゴは。なのに何してる。そいつを追い返せ。嫌だそいつは嫌な感じがする。
君が先だ、サレ。その子を解放して後ろに下がれ。
嫌だウェンディゴ、ギーをあれを殺せ。
In response, the green beast gave a furious roar. The green mound of bloodlust moved. The phenomenon occurred. He could clearly see the beast which scattered death. Guy's right eye had already captured everything about creature Wendigo. Those black lumps wrapped around its sharp, fleshy claws. Those were death itself. Amalgamations of death. A viscous liquid. A phenomenon of death, killing people like some kind of microbe. Those reinforced claws rose up. The targets of their bloodlust were Guy and him. Those sharp black claws tear through the air. So fast, my eyes can't follow them. Mortal bodies could hardly hope to dodge them, except perhaps for Pukel soldiers with their sharply honed nervous reflexes, or heavy-engined humans with nerve reconstruction. But even if they had managed to dodge the claws, they would have been killed by the viscous death wrapping around them. And yet he was alive. Guy still lived. He stood there without even a scratch in the very air that Wendigo's black claws had torn through.
遅い。
なんだキーが死んでいない。なんで避けられる。人間がクリッターに殺されないわけない。おかしい。そんなのおかしい時。死んでくれよ。クリッターがその気になれば人間は死ぬ。俺のウェンディを困らせるな。そもそもお前なんかに人間なんかに何ができる。クリッターに。クリッターは死なない。壊れ滅びない。
わめくな。
He glared at the roaring green abomination with his right eye. That was probably a cry of panic just now. It destroyed people's cranial nerves, planting seeds of death or insanity, and yet he was alive. Guy still hadn't died. He probably would have died if this had happened not too long ago. But right now, the steel him was protecting Guy. He wouldn't die, not yet. He focused his mind into his glaring right eye. His right eye saw the entirety of Wendigo. Creatures are indestructible. Physical destruction is impossible. In the case of Wendigo, the sole means of destruction is sunlight or...
なるほど。確かに。人は君に何もできないだろう。
the Green Death Wendigo with an epidermis that repelled all attacks and a body protected as if by the gods. Therefore humans couldn't possibly kill it. The sole means of destruction was sunlight. Therefore humans absolutely could not kill it. There was no sun in the city sky. However,
どうやら鋼の彼は人ではない。
my right eye sees, as if coupled with my right hand.
鋼の木。名前さえも僕が知らない。だから僕にこういう太陽のごとく溶かせ。
Tearing apart, melting, and wiping out. My right hand is a blade wrapped in flames. His right hand burns Beast to the core. His right hand was a blade summoned from an open steel chest. Together with flames of the utmost temperatures, it enveloped Wendigo, melting the beast in an instant. The creature was enveloped and broken down by the high-temperature blade before it even had a chance to scream. The remnants of that tremendous flame were left behind as if blown apart. The ceiling and walls of the underground room shook. The flickering flame. It's touching the traces of blood on the floor and blazing ever higher. Guy hadn't expected that. The flames reacted to the children's blood like oil, combusting impossibly well. The flame spun. The underground room was enveloped in an instant. Guy sliced apart Kia's chains with his steel arm and scooped up her unconscious body. The door wasn't locked, so he opened it. But when I turn around, he's still there. There's still one left.
逃げろ。
逃げる。見ろよ。ほら、綺麗な炎だ。10年前と同じじゃないか。そうだよ。同じ。そう。同じなんだ。同じ。ねえ、いい？方法はもっと簡単だったんだよ。
He's showing me a smile. Salem was still standing among the spreading flames, among the pieces of rubble falling from the ceiling, broken down by sudden exposure to extreme heat. That self-berating smile lay in a fragment of Guy's memory. But Back then it was... Guy called his name and held out his hand. However, he refused to come out of the sea of flame.
すればよかった。そうすれば俺は戻れて、あの子たちだって殺さずに済んだのに。なあギー、笑ってくれないか。俺ずいぶん遠回りしちゃったよ。
サレム、何してる？こっちに来い、早く！
ダメ、もう帰るよ。親って10年前に帰るんだ。君はその子をちゃんと逃がせよな。さようなら、ギー。お前のこと嫌いじゃなかった。だからもしもまた。
Wow. He screamed his friend's name, but his voice was wiped out by the crumbling rock. The flames leaped. His vision was slowly stained vermilion. Guy's extended hand wouldn't reach him. His friend disappeared along with the form of dancing madness. Ah, the clown is no longer at the edge of my vision. That which he'd always seen, he saw no more. For some reason, his memories now felt less disturbing. Memories of the past. He couldn't remember them very well, since they were all broken up into little pieces. Memory. A deep moan full of screams and despair. Memory. He'd been haughty, thinking that his hand could save them. He'd been so sure that holding it out could save someone. Memory. 10 years ago, within that rubble, that little girl... Ah, I can hear a voice asking. It couldn't be answered. That was why, right now, he tightly gripped the little hand in his arms. He pulled the girl's hand and covered her with his body, protecting her from the falling rubble with his back and steel arms. Things I couldn't do 10 years ago. Now I can. Could this hand of his complete those tasks? No, it couldn't. Now that I think about it, 10 years have passed, and now here I am. He could see the sky. By the time he looked up at the clouds, the rain had already stopped. The great clouds which covered up the first sun. Now the sunlight hidden behind them informed him of morning's arrival. Not at the edge of his vision, not anywhere. The dancing black clown was no more. What he saw at the edge of his vision was a single slender shadow. A single hand thrust out the rubble, Salim's right hand. It was reaching out, trying to grab onto something, but then was warped, exposed to flame, and blackened. That hand was perfectly straight, not moving a muscle. Guy touched his own cheek, a moist sensation. The rain had already stopped. And yet, horribly cold drops were covering his fingertips. Ah, I can see. These are my... It took him 3 seconds to understand. They were his tears. From within the rubble, he looked up at the sky, and let his tears flow down. Someone's voice. Why does this music always happen? When you see her, I really like how it's... Oh my gosh. It's so pleasant. Guy, why? He raised his head and there was the girl in black clothes with a horribly sad face. She was holding her hand out to him, to Guy, who looked up from within the rubble. That girl, her name is... Yes, Kia. A beautiful pink. Those went well with the gray sky. Those pink eyes were gazing intently at him. Her lips moved. Why? I don't know. Why do I keep doing this? Why won't my hand reach? Why are my tears still flowing? He clung to the girl's hand. Guy let one final teardrop fall down his cheek. Why? Am I Unable to save even you?
豊島天狼の朝
Morning at the city skyscraper. This is freaking... Wow. Alright, well... I think we'll end off here. Holy man. This is crazy, man.